When I was a child, both my dad and grandfather would regale me with adventurous stories of their sailing days. It was always so amazing to hear of the various stories of how they would visit so many beautiful countries that not many Singaporeans would have the chance to visit at that point in time. When I was in primary school, my father brought me to visit his workplace. The massive vessels, the giant hull was so breathtaking, almost as if my imagination has come to life. As a third generation seafarer, my family has seen the many changes in industry, from a trading port to a leading international port. The maritime industry has been a stronghold in Singapore's history. Growing up with their stories, it was no wonder that I decided to pursue further studies related to maritime.
So when I first applied for the job, I thought that the company deal with containers, as in Tupperware's containers. But to my surprise, it actually meant that they deal with large vessel containers. When I was standing in the massive container yard and seeing how the various containers being loaded and unloaded, and how the massive vessels moved, and how each and every piece came together to ensure a smooth shipping process, that really amazed me.
I have never imagined myself to be in the maritime industry. I chanced upon this job on accident, and in the last minute, I decided to change my course. In hopes to gain a better understanding of maritime industry and its different dimensions, I applied for the Maritime One Scholarship Program. I wanted to hear insights from industrial veterans, work with people both on the ground and in the offices. The Maritime One Scholarship Program gave me a chance to intern at Toll Logistics. It is an eye-opening experience to see my studies come to life right in front of me.
It is definitely not an easy journey. Being on board meant that I had to be away from my family. I was often homesick and I missed being with my family. In addition, it was also hard as we had cadets from all over the world. Language barriers were a huge obstacle. During these times, my dad was like a rock in my life. Whenever I get an opportunity to call home, he would offer me encouragement, advice, and even tips on how to potentially tackle the problems that I was facing.
Difficulties and challenges are inevitable in any line of work. As an intern, there was so much skills that I have yet to master and concepts that I have yet to understand. However, each challenge is also a stepping block in my learning journey. That's what I love about maritime. It is constantly evolving, and this allows for a multitude of learning opportunities that come alive even beyond the confines of a classroom.
Being in the maritime industry is no walk in the park. We face many challenges and obstacles daily. There are jobs which allow you to be adventurous if you want to climb a pilot ladder or travel all over the world.
As we sail into the future, I'm excited to see how the maritime industry can embrace novel technologies that promote clean energy and environmental friendliness. I cannot wait to see what awaits me in the future. Until then, I will continue to explore the many choices in the industry and strive to be a better, wiser, and more competent version of myself.
I know that I'm in good hands. Nobody starts off with all the knowledge they need. Rome, after all, wasn't built in a day. Grasp any opportunities you see and take it as a chance for you to learn more and grow more. Trust the process, but most importantly, trust yourself by doing the very best you can.
The stories of Sean, Jackie, and Malhan are unique, yet universal. For some of us, our journey into maritime was sparked by that sense of wonderment when we encountered our first ship. For others, our curiosity was kindled to the stories of family and friends from the industry. For yet many of us, we came into this sector quite by serendipity. We found a purpose, developed the passion as we gained mastery over our profession. I've been in the maritime industry for over 3 decades and continue to be enthralled by its charms and challenges. No matter how we started in our career in this sector, that's responsible for carrying some 80% of the world trade. There's no more exciting time than now to join maritime. At SMF, we are creating numerous pathways for the youth to encounter maritime at key stages of their lives. For pre-tertiary students, with a maritime skit and school talks. For tertiary students, we bring the industry to life to them through case competitions, scholarships, internships, campus seminars, the Own Your Future digital campaign, and many more in the years ahead. Recognizing that professional HR community plays a vital role in growing the maritime workforce, SMF has created key platforms to engage them as well, through Connections Forum, job redesign pilots, industry-led initiatives to identify and develop transition and future skills. In order for SMF's mission to bear fruit, an important ingredient is the partnership of all the stakeholders across the maritime ecosystem. I call on maritime companies to partner SMF in this worthwhile quest to nurture a pipeline of talent for our industry. You can do this by giving scholarships, offering internships, sponsoring our case competitions, and of course, career opportunities in your companies and on board the ships. With your partnership and support, together we can make the industry come alive to the youth, ignite their passion, and illuminate the path for many others like Sean, Jackie, and Mauhan to write the pages and chapters of Maritime Singapore.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to the Singapore Maritime Week 2023 opening ceremony. At this juncture, I would like to kindly invite all of you to take your seats as our program will be starting soon at about 1:30. Now, in the meantime as well, we'd like to invite you to check out the exciting lineup of programs taking place during this week. You can do so by scanning the QR code on your badge overleaf to access the full calendar of events. Also, a gentle reminder to switch your mobile phones and beeping devices to silent mode. Thank you. Once again, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Singapore Maritime Week 2023 opening ceremony. Now, just to let you know, our program will be starting very soon at about 1:30. We do invite you to take your seats very soon. Also, at the same time, if you'd like to find out about the exciting lineup of programs taking place during this week, we do have the program available on your badge overleaf in a form of a QR code, which you can scan to access the full calendar of events. Now, also a gentle reminder for you to check that your mobile phones and all beeping devices are switched to silent mode. Thank you for your cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and a warm welcome to the Singapore Maritime Week 2023 opening ceremony. Now, at this juncture, I do need all your cooperation to take your seats. We've received word that our guest of honor has arrived in the building, and we will be welcoming him very, very soon. I do appreciate all your cooperation. Well, my name is Carissa Seat, and it's a pleasure to be your MC. I can feel the energy in the room, which is a great and wonderful thing about live events. Now, gentle reminder to check that your mobile phones switch to silent mode. Also, I just want to share with you that there's no planned fire drill today, so please don't be alarmed. Stay calm if you do hear the alarm, and at the same time, we will have fire wardens on the ground. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together to welcome Minister for Transport and Minister in charge of Trade Relations, Mr. S.S. Warren. Welcome, sir. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for that warm reception. We'll give a few moments for the room to settle in just a while. As you can see, we're all excited to be together in this room. Ambition meets action. I can tell we're all ready to go for this week. So welcome down to the opening ceremony, and hopefully we get everyone seated. For those of you already seated, we really appreciate your patience. Thank you so much. We'll just wait for everyone in the front of the room as well to settle in, and we will begin. Wonderful. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience and your presence this afternoon in this room. I hope you've all got your seats and you know where you are assigned. a seat and, of course, enjoy this program that we have this afternoon for you. Hello there, good afternoon once again, ladies and gentlemen. A very, very warm welcome to the Singapore Maritime Week 2023. First of all, please allow me to greet our guest of honor, Minister for Transport and Minister in charge of Trade Relations, Mr. S. Iswaran. Good to have you. And of course, in our midst as well, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I believe we're all very excited this afternoon, aren't we? I think the 15 minutes tea break is not going to be enough to catch up. So I hope this chance of being here in this room together will be a fruitful one for you this afternoon. Now, my name is Carissa Siege, and it's a pleasure to be your MC once again on this opening ceremony. Now, SMW, as we all know, is an annual gathering of the international maritime community to advance the key industry issues that we're seeing and to exchange ideas on how to bring this sector forward. Now, this is driven by the Maritime and Port Authority of Singapore in collaboration with industry stakeholders as well as research and educational institutions. So SMW hopes to bring together all our key opinion leaders like yourself and of course industry leaders through conferences, dialogues as well as forums. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll now open the stage to welcome our guest of honor to deliver his welcome address. So please put your hands together to warmly welcome Minister for Transport and Minister in charge of Trade Relations, Mr. S. Iswaran.
Mr. Kee-Teck Lim, Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization, Excellencies, Ministers, Ambassadors, and members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, members of the industry, ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to the 17th edition of the Singapore Maritime Week. Let me start with a bit of an understatement. These are eventful times for the maritime sector. We had barely begun to emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic when the conflict in Ukraine erupted. It disrupted supply chains and shipping, caused a surge in tanker demand, and affected the lives of many seafarers. In early 2022, shipping freight rates soared to levels several times above the pre-pandemic average. Shipping lines closed their books with record profits. Since then, freight rates have generally fallen by more than 80%, returning to pre-pandemic levels. January 2023 also marked a turning point in consolidation trends in the container shipping sector. After more than 7 years, Maersk and MSC announced the discontinuation of the 2M alliance after it expires in 2025. This may have far-reaching consequences and implications for the structure of the shipping industry. Looking ahead, we in the maritime sector must gird ourselves for uncertainties in the near term. Globally, the tightening of monetary policy is dampening economic growth. The IMF projects global growth to slow from 3.4% last year to 2.9% this year. The prospects diverge across regions. Growth in the US and Euro area is expected to slow. India's outlook remains robust, and China is expected to recover. Geopolitical strains are also driving moves in manufacturing and supply chain strategies. Concerns over US-China decoupling are causing major shifts in trade and investment flows and potential bifurcation in supply chains. This will pose a grave test for the maritime sector's resilience, and adaptability. While we manage these proximate challenges, we must not lose sight of our longer-term imperatives to build a safer, more efficient, and sustainable maritime sector. As the most cost-efficient mode of transportation, shipping will continue to underpin and grow with international trade flows. We must therefore leverage this to achieve our longer-term goals for the maritime industry. This year, the theme for SMW is Ambition Meets Action. In other words, our aspirations for the sector must be met with decisive action. Hence, we must launch practical solutions to achieve our shared ambitions in 3 focus areas: decarbonization, digitalization, and maritime talent. Decarbonization heralds a profound change for the maritime industry. The entire value chain, from manufacturers to the shippers to the end consumer, must be persuaded of the value of going green, must be prepared to bear the cost, and also be prepared to act quickly. The process may span several decades, but the work must start now. There are signs of growing momentum, which is encouraging. For example, in the second half of 2022, nearly half of all container ship orders were for methanol-capable vessels, and the first such ship was launched earlier this month. Shell Singapore and Penguin International recently launched the first fully electric ferry service. In Singapore, the Maritime and Port Authority of Singapore's inaugural Maritime Census 2022 found that maritime firms in Singapore expected to triple their investments in decarbonization in 2022, amounting to 1.4 billion Singapore dollars. 140,000 tons of marine biofuel blends were sold to vessels last year, far surpassing LNG bunker sales, and a higher take-up is expected this year. Later this year, we will conclude the expression of interest for ammonia bunkering and power generation and conduct our first methanol bunkering pilot. At the global level, the IMO is a key catalyst for maritime decarbonization, and Singapore has been a steadfast supporter of its efforts. In this regard, I want to acknowledge, and I'm very glad, that in December last year, a Singaporean, Mr. Tan Han Chiang, was appointed the Vice Chair of the IMO Marine Environment Protection Committee. The IMO is now working towards the adoption of a revised greenhouse gas strategy. Singapore supports a significant strengthening of the level of ambition for 2050 in the revised strategy. This is in line with our support for international shipping to do its part to help keep the Paris Agreement global warming target of 1.5 degrees centigrade within reach. We stand ready to work with member states to revise the ambition of the initial strategy and achieve a mutually agreed outcome by July this year. Singapore's partnership with the IMO in other areas has also begun to bear fruit. At SMW 2022, MPA and IMO jointly launched NextGen Connect, which brings industry, academia, and global research centers together to offer inclusive solutions for maritime decarbonization along specific shipping routes. We have since received many high-quality submissions for the NextGen call for proposals. Following a rigorous evaluation by an international expert panel, I am pleased to announce that the winning proposal is by the Lloyd's Register Maritime Decarbonization Hub, LRMDH, for the development of a route-based action plan methodology based upon the Silk Alliance. The Silk Alliance is a green shipping corridor project. It trials emission-saving strategy for container ships operating primarily in Asia based on LRMDH's First Movers Framework. This proposal reaffirms the pragmatic and inclusive approach needed to accelerate the adoption of low and zero emission solutions. Singapore looks forward to working with Lloyd's Register, IMO, and other partners to implement this initiative, and we convey our heartiest congratulations to the winning team. Singapore has also been actively promoting decarbonization partnerships at the port-to-port level. In August 2022, MPA established the world's longest green and digital shipping corridor, GDSC, with the port of Rotterdam. Since then, both sides have been studying the feasibility of different net zero fuel pathways for the Singapore-Rotterdam shipping route, including biodiesel, methanol, ammonia, and hydrogen. We have also welcomed several new stakeholders, such as Yara Clean Ammonia and the Nanyang Technological University Maritime Energy and Sustainable Development Center of Excellence. Singapore and Rotterdam will co-host a stakeholder workshop for the Green Corridor tomorrow. On the digital track, we have also convened stakeholders to work on data standards and pilot projects, such as just-in-time vessel arrivals and digital port clearances among our customs authorities. The success of our first GDSC has given us the confidence to initiate new corridors with other partners. Today, I am pleased to announce that the Maritime Port Authority of Singapore will sign a memorandum of understanding with the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach to establish Singapore's second GDSC, connecting Singapore and the San Pedro Bay Port Complex. This GDSC, which is supported by C40 cities, will accelerate the decarbonization of international shipping along the critical Trans-Pacific trade lane. The GDSC complements existing bilateral initiatives between Singapore and the United States, such as the US-Singapore Climate Partnership and the US-Singapore Partnership for Growth and Innovation. At the same time, the maritime sector must address the operational and safety challenges posed by alternative fuels. This includes the need for revised safety procedures. And that is why MPA will be hosting the International Chemical and Oil Pollution Conference and Exhibition later this week. A tabletop exercise based on the scenario of a methanol spill at sea will be conducted for the first time. So in summary, when it comes to decarbonization, we will continue to support the work of the maritime sector at every level: multilateral, plurilateral, bilateral, and certainly in our domestic domain. Second, the maritime sector must increase its efficiency and productivity through digitalization and innovation. We have been accelerating our efforts in this area and we continue to be an attractive destination for maritime companies, including marine tech businesses. Singapore's maritime sector's digitalization and technology spending grew by 68% in 2022, with more than $100 million on innovation and R&D. The digitalization of the maritime industry will inevitably come with concomitant risks. Among other things, it will increase, as the people in the sector call it, the threat surface, or our exposure and vulnerability to cyber attacks. To be better prepared this year, we have invited cybersecurity experts to join our expanded Maritime International Advisory Panel. This is in addition to the new representatives from classification societies and decarbonization researchers. The IAP will meet over the next 2 days to discuss a range of issues, including digitalization, cybersecurity, and the multi-fuel transition. And we are looking forward to a rich and productive discussion. I've talked about decarbonization and digitalization. But a key enabler of all of this is, of course, talent. The future of the maritime sector depends critically on the quality of our maritime professionals. In this regard, MPA has been providing capacity building assistance to IMO member states under the IMO Singapore MOU on the third country training program since 1998. This is an important initiative through which Singapore seeks to support talent development for the broader international maritime community. In commemoration of the 25th anniversary of the IMO Singapore MOU and the 75th anniversary of the adoption of the IMO Convention, I'm pleased to share with you that Singapore will pledge an enhanced technical cooperation and training package of $5 million. This package will provide opportunities for fellowships, scholarships, workshops, and courses for the IMO and member states from 2024 to 2028. As an intrinsically international sector, it is important that our maritime professionals develop global perspectives. Hence, I am pleased that MPA and the Shanghai Maritime University will be signing an extension of an MOU later today on the sidelines of the 4th Singapore-Shanghai Comprehensive Cooperation Council meeting. The MOU seeks to deepen talent and knowledge exchanges between Singapore and China's maritime ecosystem. And it is equally important amidst this broader global and international focus that we continue to inspire and attract the next generation of maritime talent to join us and grow with us. So for the first time, a youth track has been introduced at the Singapore Maritime Week through the Maritime Manpower Forum's panel dialogue and the Youth at SMW platform for a focus group discussion or focus group discussions amongst youths on the future of the maritime sector. I warmly welcome the involvement of our youths, some of whom are here with us in the audience today. So if I may conclude, the journey ahead for our sector, the maritime industry and sector, is not without its uncertainties and challenges. But it's also clear that it holds the promise of new and interesting opportunities. So our collective mission must be to work together, navigate our path through choppy waters, and stay the course. As the saying goes, a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. So I wish all of you an inspiring and fruitful week ahead. And for our overseas guests, I wish you an enjoyable and memorable stay in Singapore. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Minister. We'd like to keep you on stage, and our usher will show you to the center of the stage. Thank you for setting the tone with your welcome address. Now, at this juncture, I'd also like to invite on stage Mr. Kee-Teck Lim to join us. He's Secretary General of International Maritime Organization, IMO. Now, as Mr. Lim makes his way, I'd like to tell you a little bit more, as Minister has said earlier, to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the IMO Singapore MOU on Third Country Training Program. A letter will now be presented to Mr. Lim to show Singapore's commitment. Now, in this, the package comprises, is valued at US $5 million for 2024 to 2028, with the initial US $2 million committed for 2024 and 2025. Gentlemen, I'll now invite Minister to present Mr. Lim with this letter. Minister, please. All right, thank you. We got the photo. We'd like to invite Minister back to your seat and Mr. Lim to now take the rostrum to present his keynote address.
Thank you, moderator. And Honorable Minister Iswaran, Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure to be here in Singapore once again to participate in the Singapore Maritime Week under the apt theme, Ambition meets action. It is also good to see so many experts from the maritime community gathered here to discuss innovative actions to ensure an ambitious and sustainable maritime sector. I must also express my utmost appreciation to our host, the government of Singapore, and Minister Iswaran for the gracious hospitality and excellent organizing. Shipping is indispensable to the global trade, sustainable development, and the world energy transition. Maritime transport continues to be the most economic and environmentally sustainable mode of transportation for large volume of cargo. In the past few years, the pandemic and the current geopolitical challenges have served to enhance the awareness of the invaluable role and reliance on shipping, ports, and the seafarers in global trade. For 75 years, the International Maritime Organization, IMO, as the global standard-setting body for shipping, has ensured that the maritime sector delivers goods safely, securely, efficiently, and sustainably around the world. Throughout these decades, this international regulatory regime has constantly evolved to address lessons learned and respond to new demands from ever-evolving maritime sector, such as the imperatives to tackle climate change and utilize advancing technologies. As we accelerate our journey toward a sustainable future, shipping must embrace decarbonization alongside digitalization, automation, and innovative technologies, ensuring safety and cyber security, and most importantly, that maritime personnel, in particular our seafarers, are kept the front and the center of the technology transition. Seafarers are key to shipping, and their well-being is paramount. We owe it to future generations to ensure that we leave them a planet that can sustain humankind for generations to come. This is of particular importance as this year marks the 50th anniversary since the MARPOL Convention was first adopted to protect the marine environment from pollution from ships. To reflect this importance of this milestone, our World Maritime theme for this year is MARPOL at the 50. Our commitment goes on. MARPOL regulations have made a tremendous differences to how ships are built, designed, and operated, and its rules have been adapted over the years to ensure the environment is protected from all forms of pollution from international shipping. But as the theme of this week suggests, with a greater ambition, there is a need for decisive action. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no denying that the entire world has to unite to combat climate change. For maritime, this amounts to the biggest challenge the sector has ever faced, namely decarbonization of international shipping. We now have less than 3 months to ensure that IMO showcase its global leadership toward decarbonizing shipping by adopting an upgraded and revised GHG strategy. Through our resolve, we must lead the way and provide a global framework for the maritime industry to strive for green shipping. And at the same time, we must ensure we leave no one left behind. I know that decarbonization presents challenges for many countries, particularly developing countries. At IMO, we are committed to examining and most importantly, addressing the impact of the measure we adopt to enable all IMO member states to unlock the potential that green shipping may present. The time for action is now. IMO's voyage towards decarbonization has already begun. The latest set of measures to cut carbon intensity of shipping are now in force and are already providing a considerable impact on reducing GHG emissions from shipping. I'm convinced that these will drive innovation toward transforming shipping. Now, IMO member states are actively engaged in upgrading the decarbonization strategy I mentioned, which is due to be adopted during MEPC 80 in July this year. Intense work on this is currently taking place as all voices must be heard to achieve consensus. There is no doubt that this upgraded strategy will set the framework for the way forward in support of decarbonizing shipping. It will contain a basket of technical and economic measures that will set the global shipping on an ambitious path toward phasing out GHG emission. It will also provide the necessary certainties for all stakeholders, particularly shipping industry and other oil industry as well. All stakeholders to invest in future fuels and ship-related technologies. And it will be the necessary catalyst to unlock new opportunities, particularly in renewable fuel production, but also from retrofitting ships and digitalizing port operations. This is, after all, not only a challenge, but also one of the biggest opportunities for the maritime sector and the global economy. I believe that as they debate the new strategy, IMO member states must be ambitious and bold enough to elevate their vision and the levels of ambition toward 2050. IMO is intended working to support member states in their implementation of these measures to ensure that no one is left behind in the energy transition. In this context, I would like to say how pleased I am that Singapore has today once again pledged a substantial contribution to IMO's capacity building activities with a new enhanced package of fellowships, scholarships, and the workshops, and the courses over the next 5 years. This additional assistance will be of considerable help to IMO in our efforts to improve ability of, in particular, developing countries, small island countries, to join in the maritime community's effort toward an efficient and sustainable maritime sector. This is a really significant contribution. I'm very grateful for it. With that, I would like to reiterate my deep appreciation to Government of Singapore and Mr. Iswaran again. I see great opportunities for many countries to be part of the new green future. Many will support the production and the supply of low and zero carbon fuels, while others will benefit from opportunities such as an uptake of retrofitting and shipbuilding activities. IMO will continue to support this process. Here in Singapore and across the globe is a strong willingness and the commitment to work with all stakeholders to explore and make a push toward renewable energy to ensure that maritime transport benefits from the relevant investment and technology transfer, and that the workforce of the future is equipped for this imperative transition. Actions such as the Maritime Singapore Green Initiative and the Global Center for Maritime Decarbonization underline the impact that inspire joint action can have. Knowledge sharing is critical to the attainment of our common objective. We can all learn from each other, and IMO is ready to support this process. Cooperation and the dialogue that are the trademark of IMO will be more important than ever in delivering what is expected of us, not only by our maritime community, but also by humankind. Ladies and gentlemen, decarbonization, digitalization, security, diversity are all equally important in strengthening IMO's objectives of ensuring the safety of shipping, prevention of marine and atmospheric pollution by ships, supporting sustainable economic development globally. Shipping has undergone many successful transitions over the centuries and has voyaged through to new beginnings. But especially now, we are navigating uncharted ways toward the destination of the maritime decarbonization. And we need solidarity. We need to be courageous. I'm certain that through cooperation, collaboration, and solidarity, we will ensure that our voyage is successful and that it is just and equitable. I remain confident about the future of shipping and the maritime sector, and I'm positive about the maritime community's desire to contribute to improving the health of the planet and to support sustainable development for all of us. The discussions, meetings, networking opportunities during this Singapore Maritime Week are an important step to support maritime's journey toward an innovative and sustainable future. This work requires great collaboration, communication, and cooperation amongst member states and the shipping industry and all stakeholders. In the spirit of this week theme, Ambition Meets Action, I trust that I can count on the support of all IMO member states, industry representatives, and the maritime sector as a whole to support IMO to attain our vision through decisive action. Because, as the Nelson Mandela so rightfully said, vision without action is just a dream. Action without the vision just passes the time. And vision with the action can change the world. With these inspiring words, I wish you a very successful week, and also we're looking forward to many of you in London. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kee-Tak Lim, for that address. Very well said indeed. You know, vision with action is what we all need in this room today, and the time is now. Now that said, the next segment is where we will be launching the 17th edition of the Singapore Maritime Week. For this, I'm very pleased to welcome back on stage Minister S. Iswaran to join us for the launch. We'll invite Minister to join us for this launch in this next segment. And we'll also be inviting Mr. Chee Hong Tat, the Senior Minister of State, Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Transport. Gentlemen, please join us. We have Mr. Loh Ngai Sing, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Transport. I'd like to invite Mr. Ngiam Chiang Mei, Chairman of MPA, to join us, and Chief Executive of MPA, Mr. Teo Eng Dee, to join us on stage. Ms. Caroline Young, President of Singapore Shipping Association. Welcome. Mr. Ho Wing Yu, Chairman of Singapore Maritime Foundation. Please join us. and Mr. Simon Quick, President of Association of Singapore Marine Industries. Welcome up on stage. Thank you. So we have all our distinguished guests on standby right now. Please allow me a few seconds to explain how we're going to do this launch. Now, we're all going to join in together, lend me your voices, to do a 5-second countdown. And just behind you, you will see a circular icon. Do not touch it yet. I know we're excited, but at the end of the countdown, they will place their right palms onto the circular icon in a symbolic way of launching SMW 2023. Okay, are we good? Yes, all good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, are we ready? Please join me in counting down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Please place your palms and let's launch this. A round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations on the official launch of the 17th edition of the Singapore Maritime Week. Okay, I know we're waiting for the video, but that'll be later. For now, we're going to do a group photo taking together. Gentlemen, Ms. Caroline Young as well, everyone, please move to the center. We're going to be taking a group photo together to commemorate this moment. And of course, to recognize the efforts of our frontliners in maintaining a very smooth, efficient functioning of our supply, there are a few more people I want to invite on stage. First up, Mr. Kee-Teck Lim. Please join us once again. I know you've walked up and down, but it's a pleasure to have you back up. We'll also like to invite respective representatives from Port Officers Union. Mr. Benjamin Tang, please join us. Singapore Maritime Officers Union, Mr. Gui Guo Tuan. Singapore Organization of Seamen, Mr. Kam Soon Huat, please join us on stage for this photo taking together. All right then, we have everybody and we have our group of photographers, so big smiles for the camera. Thank you. Good to see us all together. I do get a sense that it's much easier to walk. Let me see. Okay. We're going to be ushering you down this way, everybody, on the right, all the way down this way. Thank you very much. Usher you back to your seats to enjoy the rest of your program. And as you can see, some anticipation that we're looking out for the video, and we will be playing this video in just a while when we have everyone back in their seats. Now, of course, I'd like to take this chance as well, before we do launch that video, to thank our partners, IMO, PSA, and Executive Ship Management, to have helped us in making this video possible. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, please give us your kind attention and let's watch this opening video together. Enjoy.
Against the backdrop of global economic headwinds and climate change, the maritime sector must transform to ensure its reliability, resilience, and readiness for the future. Singapore is committed to decarbonizing our maritime sector and supporting global efforts to reduce international transport emissions. All stakeholders, workers, industry, and government must work closely together to strengthen digitalization and cyber resilience. and develop strong talent to meet the new demands of the industry as we chart a path forward for the maritime sector.
Climate change is the greatest challenge of this generation, and the time to act is now. The maritime sector has and will continue to do its part. IMO is committed to upgrade the IMO decarbonization strategy by elaborating the vision and the levels of ambition toward 2050 with the technical and economic measures that will set the global shipping on an ambitious path toward decarbonization. In this regard, seafarers will also play a critical part in adapting to the transition. IMO will redouble its efforts to support developing countries to ensure no one is left behind.
Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, if you all agree with this message, you can give a round of applause to show your commitment. You're all welcome aboard, moving forward together. Now, for this very next segment of the program, as earlier announced and shared by Minister, we're very pleased to be signing a milestone agreement today between the Port of Singapore, Los Angeles, and Long Beach for the formation of a green and digital shipping corridor between Singapore and the San Pedro Bay Port Complex. This will be to support decarbonization and digitalization of the maritime industry. Now, to kick off this proceedings, we will now have two very special videos. Congratulations sent by Mr. John Kerry, Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, SPAC, of the United States Department of State, as well as Ms. Karen Bass, the Mayor of City of Los Angeles. Well, they would love to be here, but for now, let's enjoy this congratulatory message together. Let's watch.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to provide a few words during this year's Singapore Maritime Week, appropriately themed Ambition for Action. I wish I could be with you in person, but I am grateful that you were able to fit me in, at least virtually, and I'm honored to be able to join you for the conference. The United States and Singapore have a strong relationship across many different arenas, and I'm especially proud of the U.S.-Singapore Climate Partnership that we launched in 2021. Building on that partnership, President Biden and Prime Minister Lee recognized that decarbonizing the shipping sector is essential to achieving a clean energy economy. Last year, they pledged to work together to advance green shipping and establish the necessary infrastructure to provide low and zero emission fuels at our ports. It is really a great example of the collaboration between our two countries and of what we can accomplish when we set out to address the climate crisis together. I don't know if you know this, but shipping moves almost all of global trade. And Singapore and the Port of Los Angeles and Long Beach are some of the linchpins to that trade. But the sector currently generates more greenhouse gas emissions than Germany or Japan. Shipping alone is responsible for a gigaton of greenhouse gas emissions each year. That's equivalent to every coal-fired power plant in the United States combined. But the good news is that many shipping companies, ports, and countries are now stepping up, and they're showing leadership in very important ways. Today's MOU is one of those pieces of good news. Just a few months ago, the United States and Norway launched the Green Shipping Challenge at COP27, and that featured more than 40 different announcements from around the world. One of those announcements was from the Port of Los Angeles, the Port of Long Beach, the Singapore Maritime and Port Authority, and the C40, all of which joined together to highlight their initial discussions on a potential green and digital shipping corridor. Today, I am glad to see this initiative take a very important step forward, and I hope to hear more about it during the next iteration of the Green Shipping Challenge at COP28 in Dubai. I can't finish my message without drawing your attention to one other thing. There is no path to limiting global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius without achieving zero emissions from the shipping sector. So this is the year. Then all of our efforts can really come together and build the momentum that we need. In July, the International Maritime Organization must revise its greenhouse gas strategy to include a goal of zero emissions no later than 2050. And that has to be the North Star for climate ambition for this sector. The sector must also adopt intermediate goals for 2030 and 2040. And those goals must be 1.5 degrees Celsius aligned. My friends, if we adopt these goals this year, then I guarantee we will see more companies stepping up, more ships running on methanol, green hydrogen, and green ammonia by the end of the decade. We can do this. And the hard reality is we have to do this. It's an essential component of tackling the climate crisis. I know that all of you here are committed to this effort, and I thank you profoundly for your commitment to decarbonizing the shipping sector and for your hard work. Remember, if the shipping sector were a country by itself, it would be the 8th largest emitter in the world. I hope you will use that fact as an incentive to double your efforts, triple your efforts, to do everything we can to be able to meet our responsibilities. So I wish you well. Have a great conference. Have a wonderful Singapore Maritime Week. Thank you.
I'm Mayor Karen Bass. While I wasn't able to travel to Singapore for this special occasion, I am so pleased to send a congratulatory message to celebrate this important milestone. First, I want to thank the government of Singapore for hosting this event and for your leadership to accelerate decarbonization of the maritime industry. I also want to recognize the U.S. Ambassador to Singapore and his staff for their support. The Port of LA and the Port of Long Beach are leading U.S. ports on sustainability and international partnerships like this. Thank you to our port leaders. Finally, I want to thank C40 Cities for their role facilitating the development of this MOU and for their ongoing support. Los Angeles and Singapore have an active and broad partnership from culinary to culture, climate to commerce. Our ports are the economic engines of our cities, and we have a common goal to accelerate decarbonization of our ports and the ships that travel between our cities. The agreement signed today turns that goal into action, kicking off a multi-year effort to make swift progress towards zero carbon shipping and port operations that will make our air cleaner and our ports, cities, and countries more resilient against the threat of climate change. I'm pleased to be in alignment with our federal partners at the State and Commerce Department on this. This corridor complements the U.S.-Singapore Climate Partnership and the U.S.-Singapore Partnership for Growth and Innovation, both launched in 2021. It will help strengthen sustainable trade and investment collaboration between our countries, as well as collaboration on climate action, environmental governance, sustainable development, and low-carbon solutions. The Green Shipping Corridor will also create opportunities for businesses and workers in green growth sectors, and we will work to ensure that no one is left behind as we transition to the green economy of the future. Congratulations to all involved, and let's get to work.
Thank you very much, Spec Carey, as well as Mayor Bass, for sending through the note of congratulations. Now, as mentioned in the video, as we know now the significance of this MOU signing, I will now be proceeding to invite our signatories to join us on stage. Representing the Maritime and Port Authority of Singapore, the MOU will be signed by Chief Executive Mr. Teo Eng Gee. Mr. Teo, please join us on stage. For the Port of Los Angeles, I'd like to invite Executive Director Mr. Gene Soroka to join us. And for the Port of Long Beach, Executive Director Mr. Mario Cordero, please join us here on stage. I will next be inviting the witnesses to join us on stage for this ceremony. I'd like to call upon Minister S. Iswaran to join us. Once again, Senior Minister of State Mr. Chee Hong Tat to also join us on stage. I'd like to call upon Ambassador of the United States to Singapore, Mr. Jonathan Kaplan, to join us. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Ngiam Chiang Mei, Chairman of MPA, on stage as a witness. Mr. Edward Renwick, Los Angeles Harbor Commissioner, Port of Los Angeles, please join us on stage. And I'd like to invite Ms. Sharon Wiseman, Long Beach Harbor Commission President, Port of Long Beach. Good to have you. Now, there's 3 ports coming together with C40 and other stakeholders in the maritime and energy value chains will jointly accelerate decarbonization for the maritime industry in line with the goals of IMO, Singapore, as well as United States' respective nationally determined contributions, NDCs. So with that, at this point, I'm ready, and we're all ready. We'd like to invite Mr. Teo, Mr. Soroka, and Mr. Cordero to now pen the signatories on the document in front of them. Significant milestone indeed. Please hold up the documents and witnesses as well. Thank you. Big smiles to the camera for this moment. Thank you once again to all signatories and witnesses for participating in this very meaningful MOU signing together. We have a standing photo request. So I'd like to invite our witnesses and signatories to have a standing photo together. Would you like them to move forward or stand in their positions? Move forward in front of the table. I'll just need a little professional help with the photo. There we have it. Thank you very much for our flexibility and, of course, improvisation here on stage for a good photo moment. We got the shot. It's okay this way down. Thank you very much to our witnesses and signatories. Once again, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention and participation as well in the opening ceremony. Now, we've come to the close of the very first segment of this program. It is now about time where we are going to be having a 15-minute tea break. I'm sure it's a good time for you to energize yourself and once again have those conversations you've been wanting to have. So we'll come back to the room at about 2:45. Your bell will ring and we can start the next half, which will be a dialogue session. And I'm sure you're all looking forward to that as well. The SMW Maritime Dialogue, Ambition Meets Action. How can governments and industries work together? Thank you for your attention. Let's go for the tea break. See you back here at 2:45. Bon appetit.